everybody, it's Mrs. Pound. We've been talking about Chapter 2.2, Soil. So far, we have covered the composition of soil, what makes it up. We have talked about different soil profiles and the horizons in a soil profile. Now today we're going to talk about different soil types in Section 223. So our objectives are to analyze the effects of climate on soil type, explain how a soil's fertility is connected to its formation, and describe factors that affect the development of soil. So the main factor that determines soil type in a region, now we talked about a few factors in the last video. They were climate, slope of the land, parent rock material, type of vegetation, and time. The most important of those factors is in fact climate. And you may have gotten that from the fact that when I showed you those different soil profiles at the end, they all were from different climate zones. So plants thrive best in soil that is slightly acidic. Okay, slightly acidic. And I know maybe if you grow some plants in your yard, so for certain plants, you actually have to add even more acid. For example, blueberries require a very acidic soil. Now, let's talk about a few types of soil in particular to reach our objectives. So, tropical soils. Let's talk about tropical soils because the tropical rainforests, we talk about deforestation and um, all the time, and they're also important for biodiversity because they contain a lot of different species. So the soils are actually not very fertile. You would think they must be super fertile because there are all of those things growing there, but they are not. And this is due to the fact that high temperatures and heavy rainfalls facilitate chemical weathering that creates actually thick layers of soil. So, yeah, you're thinking, well, that's good, okay? But heavy rains wash away the topsoil, which thins out the A horizon and leaches most of the minerals out of tropical soils. So, even though they have these thick soils due to all of this um, material and everything and these high temperatures, you would think they would have great soil due to all the vegetation, but no, the nutrients are quickly taken out from it by heavy rains. But many plants grow in tropical regions so this is why they can still thrive. Most of the nutrients in tropical rainforests are found within the canopy of branches and vines in the forest. So all that vegetation holds the nutrients, is taking it out of the soil and holds the nutrients. These organic materials are continuously added to the soil, creating a thin layer of humus. So those materials are falling down to the floor, decaying, and providing humus that will then replenish the plant life. Logging is detrimental to the health of rainforests and it's detrimental, especially the rainforest compared to other forests, because the thin layer of humus becomes exposed to direct impact of rainfall and quickly washes away. So yes, those nutrients are returned to the floor, but if they're not protected, they go away. Without receiving key nutrients that are stored in the now absent canopy, the soil becomes infertile within 2 or 3 growing seasons. So we have to have that constant recycling of the organic matter, or the soil becomes no good. Loggers and ranchers then often choose to cut down and burn more forests given that the land used is no longer viable. So because it's no longer good for growing things, they just cut down more forest and just the cycle repeats, and it is a constant battle between that, okay? Now, it is better to grow crops in a valley than along the incline portion of a mountain slope because rainwater removes topsoil as it flows down steep slopes. This produces a thick layer of soil at the bottom of the slope. So, slopes, not so good for growing things. That topsoil washes right off, especially without vegetation or anything to hold it there, just washes right off. But it gets deposited at the bottom. Any topsoil that clings to slopes is generally too thin and dry to support much plant life. Is there some plant life on slopes? Yes, but not a whole lot. Thick humus cannot form without the organic matter added by plants, so the soil on mountain slopes is rocky, thin, and infertile. And you can see that in my background picture. Those mountain slopes don't look like they're growing very much. However, in the valleys, and you can also see this in my picture, soil retains water and rich organic materials form humus. The soil in valleys is fertile and produces good farmland. So you can see that at the bottom of those mountains, there's a lot of green stuff growing. And because all of that soil has washed down off of the mountains and is providing fertile soil. Okay, so our objectives were to analyze the effects of climate on soil type, explain how a soil's fertility is connected to its formation, and describe factors that affect the development of soil. And so we accomplished those objectives by talking about rainforest soil and the difference between soil on slopes and valleys. So don't forget your 5 questions. And we still have a few sections to go, and then we'll be done with this chapter.